Hello there everyone, this is Mark 3 and welcome back to some From the Depths content. Yeah, you can stop keeling over in shock now. Yes. From the Depths content. Welcome back to From the Depths Tinkering. Which I think is an apt name for it, after what happened with modifying the rear section of someone else's ship last time out. So yes, tinkering. And today we've got a craft here produced by Mr. Damaddok, who made the list last week and promptly threw a copy of it at me, saying that I would probably find it interesting since I tend to work with hovers and things of that nature. And I agree, I actually found this craft fairly interesting. So, this is the White Death, I believe. Let's just double check to make sure I'm not making a fool of myself. Yep, White Death. Okay. Just had to make sure I am not the best with names. But yes, made by Damaddok 82. The White Death. A somewhat cheap automated support drone, which is basically set up to function a bit like a tank destroyer. It hangs back at a reasonably safe distance and loves to take pot shots at people with its ventral mounted 400mm cannon. So yeah, that's what this thing is kind of meant to do. 18,500 resources will net you one of these things, and then it drifts around and takes pot shots at things from a safe distance. Ish. Yeah, but this is tinkering. You know, what we're going to do? We're going to tinker with it, of course. Let's see, I'm just going to unlatch one of these so we can take a quick spin with it. Now, there are some flaws with this thing. At least in my eyes there are flaws, but here's one of them. I released it, it plummeted straight to the water. Now it's corrected itself and taken off a bit, so yeah, there's some things I think I can do with this thing. And in all honesty, my first reaction upon seeing it was, OMG, it looks like a frog. From the front at the very least. And Dama actually agreed with that assessment. And we decided it's actually because of those top-mounted eyes on the rounded kind of froggy face kind of thing. So yes, let's bring the stats up here. We are going at a full speed of 22. Outside of combat, this guy does not do a heck of a lot. He just flies off in a straight line. He's actually very fuel efficient, so that's something of note here. This guy is meant to be very, very efficient at what he does. He's running on just some forward rotors. His main stability is actually coming from these rotor blades in the side here. And if you look here, they're actually treble stacked. So there may only be 4, but these guys are controlling the pitch, the roll, and the altitude. Supported by these underslung jets, which are there partly for aesthetics and partly for function. Though, as we saw when we released this craft from only slightly above its operational ceiling, it's kind of ditched itself rather quickly. I would also like to note the version I've got here, which I don't think has been tweaked at all. It doesn't do land at all, which is one of the things I'm going to be changing in it. Ooh. Anyway, moving on. The primary cannon, it's set up as a sample shell right now. Let's take a quick peek behind the hood. So here we go. So it's set up with a basic sample shell, which is somewhere in it. There it is. So this is just like a mess around kind of thing. Dama said very specifically that anyone who uses this thing could just swap it out easily with anything else. So it's a HE, secondary HE, basically the, really simple shell, all told, and not specialised for anything in particular. Though also noted is the fact the ammo racks are at the front, behind a pair of shields, and that is also where the primary AI is as well. And that is all deliberate, because if we bring back the armour, as you can see, it's behind some heavy armour plating. So it's meant to encourage people to shoot the front of it. If you're going to attack this thing, it wants to take it straight on the face, because that's where it's got the most protection. Moving onwards, it's got some anti-missile defences, as we can see at the back here. we go. And there's a fuel engine at the back. Not the most powerful craft, but as I said, this thing is like it's meant to be really cheap and efficient. You bring it in, and it's going to take quite a while for its fuel reserves to dwindle. I mean, if we look at it, it's very slowly ticking down on its engine power. So it's taking its own sweet time about it. And yeah, I think Dama's stated goals of like having a really cheap support unit that you can bring in and then it'll last for quite a while by itself is actually been admirably served by this thing. The cannon is definitely not hungry enough to really warrant much more ammo reserve than what it's got there. Its fuel reserves are okay. And all it's good. Yes. Iron Mark III looks upon this craft and find it good. And I'll also summon it back again because it's just been wandering off. But that said, if it's left at that, if I left it at saying, this is good, then we wouldn't have us a video, would we? Not at all. No. This is the Tinkering series. So I'm going to get started on some mucking around, I think, is probably the fairest way to put it. First things first, let's make sure we know which one I'm messing around with. So I'm going to grab some applique panels here. Don't worry, this is not going to really do anything to the performance of it. But this is like kind of like, I'm going to show that this one's mine. There we go. And I'm going to grab this paint here. Free paint mode, please, thank you. So there we go. So we got some white accents. Sorry, some white and got pale blue accents, just to show that this one is mine. And we'll go back to colour 0 because yes. And that's just to help us mark it. So let's just begin. One thing that Dama noted that he was not happy with was accuracy on the main cannon. We can do something about that. But given that it's me we're talking about here, one thing I noted is speed. We can boost the speed of this thing quite reasonably just by going and adding in an extra layer of rotors to the back here. So yeah, that should help this out quite a bit. So what was it, 22 on the previous one, which is still not back. Where is it? Yeah, it's still coming back. 22. Let's release this other one. And we'll see what it does with just extending the rotors a little bit. Assuming it gets out of the water. I really should have fixed that first. Oh, but as you can see, it's already having trouble because it can't get out of the water fast enough. Release the balloons, please. Thank you. Right, so increasing the rotor size by 50% has resulted in a speed increase from 22 to looks like just about 27, 28. So yeah, that's like a 30% increase-ish. I'm guesstimating there, so don't measure that too close, but 30% faster. No real increase to power drain. Just a very quick, cheap mod thrown on for the lulz, and something that's going to pay off a little bit. Let's bring our little test subject back a little bit. Okay. Next up is, I think I'm going to go ahead and adjust what's going on with it ditching itself in the water. And we're going to find ourselves a certain PID, which is back here, wedged in against the engine systems. Over here we've got the pitch and roll PIDs, and on this side we have got the altitude PID, along with shield control ACBs and stuff like that. Right, so my issue here is altitude above sea level. If this thing flies over an island, it's going to fly into the island because it's not going to register a difference. Also, as you saw, it responds really slowly, so it's not sensitive enough. So, but it's an easy fix though. Propulsion vertical. I'll just take this and I'll set it to above terrain or waves. So as the sea gets choppy, this thing will be adjusting its height as well, making itself a harder target. So that's also good for survivability. But if it finds itself over land, it's going to react to the land as well. So it'll increase height accordingly to maintain its operational status. So that's good. Next up, 0.01. It's enough to keep it going, but as we saw, it's very sluggish, so my go-to standard is 0.1 on altitude control systems, especially if the craft is reasonably responsive. So that'll increase the change of the thrust on these guys a bit faster, but I'll also increase the derivative time to 3, which means it's going to predict where it's going to be in like 3 seconds instead of 1.5 seconds, which will also help it avoid overshooting a bit better. But that should be perfectly adequate for it to launch properly now and keep itself under control a bit more. Next up is the pitch and roll. These guys are at 0.01. Again, that's pretty good. Still low, but I don't really see any main issue with this. All I'm going to do is increase it to 0.05. So have them react a bit quicker. And this one is the pitch set to 0.5. That is pretty aggressive, and I am okay with that. Especially since it's only controlling the Deadly Blades, as far as I'm aware. This guy doesn't respond to... No, this guy is set to Pusher. And this guy is set to Pusher as well. Yes, indeed. We could probably replace these jets with an extra set of Deadly Blades, if I'm honest. But the jets are there for aesthetics as well as function. We're just going to help them function a bit better. So that's fine and dandy. Okay. Let's release it again and see if it pitches into the ocean this time. No, it's responding. It's leveling out. It didn't actually sink low enough to require its balloons to deploy. And it is bobbing up and down a little bit, so it's a little bit less quote-unquote stable. Admittedly, because it's reacting faster to any changes, but as we can see, it's now it's leveling out a bit. But yeah, that thing is more stable, I would say. Though remember, the up and down motion, it's going up and down by its own height, so that will definitely help it to dodge incoming fire and throw off long-range guns trying to take it out. So that's of use. One drawback, though, is of course that faster reaction means it's going to demand engine power more rapidly, so that might have a negative effect on fuel consumption. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Moving on, let us continue. I think my next mod is going to be to the AI, at least a little bit. Let's see how much space we've got to work with in here. As you can see, we've got slope. Then we've got some extra bits and pieces in here. What are you? You are a stone. A bit of stone in here for some EMP resist. Then we get to the AI core. Then we've got some HA at the back here. That is fine and dandy. So last layer, and then we get into the actual gun mechanism. What I want to do is, I'm going to take the AI, and I'm going to set it to naval operation. There we go. So this will mean it won't go herring off outside of a fight, if we do it like this. There was a note, this will also mean the craft will also adjust itself quite frequently. Oh, there's a control seat in here. Perfect. Is there any space around the control seat? No, it's just walled in. Fine. But what I want to do is I want to get a little bit of space for an ACB set in here somewhere. An extra set of ACBs. Problem this craft is packed in so tightly. Raw resource material containers. See, this is some stone beams at the back here. Probably to protect the ACBs and things. I actually want to add some more ACBs at the back here, so I think rounding out the back of the craft a little bit further will suit my evil designs. Yes. So let's go ahead and tunnel these guys out. Don't worry, I'm going to do something like that. So do some fixing, because I also want some more ACBs around this altitude PID as well, for reasons that I'll explain in a little while. I'm also going to actually do some quick modifications to the front as well, because I like aerodynamics. I'm a sucker for aerodynamics. I know. It's maybe it's not the best thing, but it's hey. So I'm just going to do it like that. So it's just like a little bit of extra sloping going on up here, but it can make a difference in terms of speed. It's also going to make the front armour a little bit thicker as well, actually. So HA armour solid, like this. Followed by the wedge. Wedge. As soon as I find it. There it is. Right. And then I'm going to, again, just make use of these slopes. Just angle it a little bit more aggressively. And then I'm going to use the squares along the top here. So, a little bit like that, I'm thinking. Admittedly, this craft is so big and flat, the angling is not going to do that much in terms of raw speed, but it's a case of every little helps, and it's looking a bit more aggressive now, like it's got this wedge prow on the front. And when push comes to shove, this is actually on this bit here now 2 meters of HA instead of 1 that was there before. So, if this is going to be more durable or not, that remains to be seen, let's be honest. That really is going to remain to be seen. How big is this piece? That's 3 meter, that's a 4 meter. Okay. Let's flare it out a little bit, I suppose. Let's see. 2 meter? Why not, eh? Yeah, that's changing the appearance of it just a little bit, isn't it? Nothing drastic though. I'm trying not to do too much to it because we're trying to preserve the economy value as well, just a tad. And while I'm at this, I'm actually going to extend these guys at the back as well because I do need to do that. Let's see, I want 3s. 3s. There we go. And of course we want the inside detailing as well. There we go, so I've covered those things. They are now extended as part of this, and they are looking okay, I'm fairly sure. I'll just add a little bit of extra protection for those as well. If it needs this extra protection though, it is in serious trouble, just to say. But yeah, there we go. Just like round it out a little bit more. Moving on. Now then, there's something I really want to double check because it's been a while since I've checked on these things. The coincidence rangefinder. Admittedly, it's a useful thing, but what I'm wondering about is efficiency, because this is actually straight from when Damo first demonstrated this craft in a live stream, when he said he's not quite happy about the accuracy of it. Part of that could be down to targeting data. So let's double check the AI detection stats on that. Rangefinder. What is it? It is a... It's a big boy, isn't it? Yes. It is a 7 meter armoured rangefinder, which has the stat of 0.1 angular and a whole load of range. Well, actually, like 1.4%. That's actually really not very much. The issue is it only detects every 0.25 seconds, so it's not that fast as detectors go. However, that said, it only needs 1 processing power, so that's an advantage compared to most other stuff. Yeah, 0.1% and a 1.4% range. 0.1%. What's a gimbal camera? Gimbal camera is twice as accurate on range, sorry, on angle, twice as accurate. The range error is way higher, but hey, nothing's perfect. However, it requires 1.5. Okay, that's actually... yeah. What else do we have by way of detection on this thing? We've got a 90-degree camera for an initial basic acquisition kind of stuff. That is good. Let's check what else. Seems like the... oh, there's a connection there. Is that it? That is it. Okay, sure. That is it, apparently. Fair enough. Okay, that's all it's got by way of detection. An absolutely minimalist detection package, it seems. It's only ever meant to face its targets. Alright. So I'm actually going to upgrade the sensors a little bit on this thing. Not overly much, but definitely enough to be impact worthy. But I'm also going to install the extra ACBs I mentioned. There we go, so 2 more on each side. I want 2 on here though, so this one is going to be if there is any enemy within reach, as is this one actually. This one's going to be any enemy within reach, so inverted. If there's no enemy within reach, then it will take the mainframe and it will activate fleet move. So of course this means the AI is going to be activating itself and buzzing around a bit. But if there is no enemy, the AI system is going to switch to weapons only. So that way it's not going to interfere when this thing starts operating full tank destroyer control and spins around to face the enemy. The AI is going to stand back and just control the gun. And that's all we want it doing. So that's all well and good. Okay, right, other side here. This craft, by default, operates at 50 meters height. I think I want a couple more, actually. I want a bit more flex in that. Let's go ahead and actually add 2 more, just in case. Yes. And on this side, you're going to get some extra resources, my boy. There you go. Fine. What are we at? We are at 18,800, so we're only a few hundred more expensive at the moment. And that's because these 4 ACBs now are going to be interfering with this PID. So, reaction is target altitude between 0 and 50. Sorry, no, let's set the minimum. So if the target is 50 meters or below, yeah, then this ACB will set a general purpose PID within a range. So we're going to reduce this. Range of 5 should be enough. Let's see, 1, 2. Yep, that should be good. Within a range of 5 meters, you're going to set the fake point to equal 50. So you can see where I'm going with this, can't you? That's all good. Copy this one. So the idea is this craft is meant to be like on equal or greater altitude. So if it's below 50, it's going to 50 meters or below, it's going to hover at 50 meters. If this guy detects it at a range of 100 or below, it is of course going to override itself. It's going to set the PID. I've got to reselect this. This is a slight bug in copying the thing out. So set the fake point to 100. Actually, no. I need one to reset it afterwards. So I'll just go with 3. Okay, 150. So I set 1 for 150. This one. And this one is going to be set for 300. Just because, why not? It might need to lift that far. If it's trying to engage stuff above 300, something's going wrong, and it's probably not your best choice of vehicle. Let's be honest here. So let's try to take all this into account. 300. So go. Whoops. 150, 300. Now, did I set you guys with range? You should have copied that, shouldn't you? Yep, you've all got that. Okay, right. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to set these guys with priorities. So, the 150 is higher priority. The 300 is higher priority again. So they'll override each other as they increase. And since it's targets, that means the enemy this craft is trying to shoot at the time is what it's going to be trying to adjust its height for. And that should help it out a bit as well, I think. Now this one, if there is no enemy in range, you will take the PID and set your fake points down to 50 again. So this one just means it'll reset itself when there's no enemies. Oh, I need to invert that. There we go. So yeah, inverted. Set the PID altitude to 50 meters. So that will allow it to adjust its height in response to various targets. Now, accuracy. Not much we can do in terms of accuracy all told, except, as I mentioned, like going ahead and just, you know, swapping out bits and pieces all over the darn place. So what are you? Engine exhausts. Engine exhausts. Is there a reason those are back? Those things aren't even attached, are they? Well, this one isn't. That one is. Okay, that one's just there because of mirror mode, I think. Tear that one out. This one is of use, since it's connected. No reason we can't just dump that out the back of the craft, though. So that's potentially something that we need to see to. But what I'm thinking is, probably the cheapest and easiest way to try and increase the accuracy of the gun is to relocate it. Because I'm not trying to make the craft bigger. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually drag the gun backwards a little bit. That's another reason why I adjusted the placement of everything. Oh, you got your seat. You've got your seat attached in there, have you? Ah. Well, what's this? There's nothing here. There's a control thing here. I'm going to move the chair up a little bit. So I've replaced that stone block with the chair. That's now out of the turret. We're going to capture prefab. Make up a new prefab. Width 5, height 3, length, burble. There we go. So we're going to... Is that correct? That is going to grab everything I'm after. Okay. We'll get the barrel. We'll get everything involved. And we're going to relocate this entire assembly back a bit. So how far out the front of the ship are you? That far. So yeah. Since, unless we go full-on railgun conversion, this is probably the most straightforward way we can try to enhance the primary gun in terms of accuracy. Just like, make it longer. This is also one of the reasons why I've got that other one sitting over there without being modified. It's just like, it gives us a base point, you know? There's also the fact we're going to have to string the gun back along the internal mechanisms of the craft as well, which is also going to be an issue, but it's now time to burn that bridge. So if we move it back to here, I think, well, we could just like go full on crazy and put it all the way back here underneath the engine assembly. But I think Dama might have a few choice words with me about that one. So I'm thinking like here underneath the main housing of the craft, and then from there we'll leave that rear tail assembly as it is. So this would be like, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. An extra 8 meters of barrel length, which is going to do something to it. At the very least. And how are we going to... This probably might be a bit more important to take a quick look at now. It's like, how are we going to string this back here? We've got to make room for it somehow. Unless we attach it to the side. Or we drop the cannon a little bit. might negatively impact its speed. Let's take a look at dropping the cannon slightly and see what that looks like. So, if we put that there. And the cannon's rear section is there. Actually, there's some extra. Actually, there's a little bit of internal space we can mess around with as well. So if we pull it back a little bit further, I mean, this thing has got plenty of PID and stuff as well. After all, it's got good control. Let's pop it there. How does that look? So this is the regular White Death. It's very flush underneath there, which is part of the reason why I did the variable altitude. If we do it like this, it's recessed further, it's a little bit further back. Let's just take this out a bit further. We can actually, let's increase it slightly further as well, you know, why not? Bore revac, heavy end, get rid of the marking scope there. So if we did it like that, it's more obviously rigged up to use the primary cannon. It's going to increase the drag a little bit, but we can easily offset that by sloping as we go. So this is not going to be as tough a turret design, but it is hung further back and it's more geared towards pure sniper roll. So I think I'm going to leave it in there just because it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. The sun says it's going to be okay. Ow, my eyes, I can't see anymore. Okay, right. Let's keep going. We're just passing the half-hour mark, I believe. Well, we're just past it, so I hope. Well, I'll have to decide if this is going to be like a two-parter or something. But yeah, we can adjust this craft at least a little bit. Let's see. Are you still a 400mm? You're not connected to a firing piece. Really? Where's the firing piece? Oh, it's meant to be there. Oh, I see. It's because the 3 meter mantle's gone. It's not there.